The morning light through Whitmore Conservatory's stained glass windows painted the recital hall in amber and crimson, but Kiran Osei saw only the dean's manicured fingers gripping his exam booklet like evidence at a crime scene. This supposedly came from a student who's never spoken in class. Dean Vandermeer's voice carried across the assembled faculty, each word landing like a gavel. A scholarship student. Someone want to explain how that happens? Kiran's shoulders curved inward. An instinctive collapse he'd perfected over 19 years of making himself smaller. The silver treble clef pendant beneath his shirt pressed cold against his sternum. His mother's voice whispered from memory, "Your music is yours, never let them take it." Mr. Osei, Vandermeer's smile didn't reach his eyes. "Join us at the piano, please." The walk to center stage stretched infinite. Kiran counted his footsteps, 23 across marble that had witnessed a century of performances. Faculty members shifted in their seats. Professor Cho adjusted his wire-rimmed glasses, looking anywhere but at Kiran's face. 10 minutes, Vandermeer placed his phone beside the Steinway, timer displayed. Recreate your supposed masterpiece, every movement, every harmony. Or admit you didn't write it. Kiran's hands trembled as they found the keys. He'd played these exact notes 1,000 times in the piano bar where he worked nights. Fingers moving through chord progressions while drunk businessmen ignored him. But this felt different, exposed. He began. The opening phrase emerged tentative, a question posed in minor thirds. 60 seconds in, Dr. Reeves leaned forward in her seat, graying locks falling across her shoulder. Her coffee mug stopped halfway to her lips. By 3 minutes, the tentative questions had become declarations. Kiran's hands remembered what his conscious mind couldn't articulate, the way his mother used to hum while cooking. Those fragments of melody she'd never written down. Rhythms that felt like heartbeats in rainfall and the particular cadence of her laugh. At 6 minutes 40 seconds, he completed the final movement. The last chord hung in the air, resonating through the hall's perfect acoustics. Then his hands kept moving. The improvisation poured out unbidden, variations on his submitted themes. Inversions and augmentations that revealed new dimensions in the original structure. His fingers flew across keys with supernatural confidence, pulling harmonies from some deep well he didn't know he possessed. The music built and crashed and rebuilt, each phrase more complex than the last. A professor in the third row pressed her palm against her chest. Tears tracked down her weathered cheeks. Kiran stopped. The silence afterward felt heavier than the performance. Extraordinary, Vandermeer's voice cut through the stillness, but his face had gone pale. Truly extraordinary. That composition style, those particular harmonic progressions. He paused. And Kiran watched something shift behind the dean's eyes. Recognition, then fear, its derivative of published works. "I'm initiating a formal plagiarism investigation." The room erupted. Faculty voices overlapped, some protesting, others murmuring agreement. Kiran stood frozen at the piano bench, his mother's pendant suddenly heavy as an anchor. He barely registered the dismissal, the concerned glances, the whispered conversations. His legs carried him toward the exit on autopilot. "Your mother's name was Naledi, wasn't it?" Dr. Reeves materialized beside him in the corridor, her voice low and urgent. Her fingers gripped her coffee mug with both hands. "You have her hands." Before Kiran could respond, she disappeared into the crowd. That night his apartment felt smaller than usual. The storage trunk sat in the corner where it had lived for 3 years, untouched since the funeral. Kiran had avoided it like an open wound, terrified of what memories might spill out. His hands shook as he lifted the lid. Composition notebooks filled the trunk's interior, their covers worn soft with handling. His mother's handwriting flowed across staff paper in confident strokes, nothing like the hesitant woman he remembered from her final years. Beneath the notebooks, letters, rejection notices from publishers, and a newspaper clipping, edges yellowed, featuring a younger Vandermeer accepting some prestigious award. His mother's handwriting in the margin, he took everything. Kiran's breath caught. He pulled out manuscripts dated 1999, themes and progressions that felt intimately familiar. Because he'd used them, unconsciously woven them into his own composition like inherited DNA. Then he found the emails, printed and filed with meticulous care. From Vandermeer to Naledi Osei, dated March 2000. Your blatant imitation of my compositional style constitutes academic dishonesty. The board will be informed, but her notebooks told a different story. Dated manuscripts from 1998, a full year before Vandermeer's original works premiered. Her signature progressions. Her unique blend of African rhythmic patterns with Western classical forms, all documented. All time-stamped, all provably hers first. Kiran spread the papers across his floor, building a timeline. Each document another piece of evidence, each letter another wound his mother had carried silently. At the bottom of the trunk, he found an envelope. Unsealed but never sent, addressed to the Whitmore Conservatory Board of Trustees in his mother's careful script. His hands trembled as he unfolded the pages. She detailed everything, the theft, the accusations, the systematic silencing, names, dates, specific compositions. Evidence that would have destroyed Vandermeer's career 22 years ago. The letter was dated 1 week before she left Whitmore forever. She never mailed it. Kiran pressed the pages against his chest, feeling the phantom weight of his mother's courage and her crushing defeat. The silver pendant caught lamplight, throwing shadows across the scattered manuscripts. "I'll finish what you started," he whispered to the empty room, to her memory. To the ghost of the brilliant composer she'd been before they broke her. The letter trembled in his hands, but his voice didn't waver. "Doctor." Yolanda Reeves looked smaller than Kiran, remembered from faculty assemblies. She sat across from him in a coffee shop 3 blocks from campus. Both hands wrapped around her mug like it might anchor her. Her eyes held something Kiran recognized, the weight of carrying silence too long. "I was there," she said quietly. "Spring 1999. Your mother presented her work in advanced seminars. I remember thinking she was going to change everything, the way she wove traditional rhythms into classical forms. It was revolutionary." She paused, staring into her coffee. Then 6 months later, Vandermeer premiered his groundbreaking new compositions at the Kennedy Center. Her exact motifs, her harmonic progressions, even the way he described them in interviews, her words, Kiran's throat tightened. "What did you do?" "Nothing." The word came out like a confession. When he accused her of plagiarizing his style, I said nothing. I was the only other black faculty member. I'd watched 3 colleagues of color get pushed out in 5 years. I told myself I could do more good by surviving, by being there for future students. Her voice cracked. But I wasn't there for her. And I've carried that for 22 years. Kiran spread his mother's manuscripts across the table. Dated pages, time-stamped compositions, documented evolution of her signature style. "Help me finish what she couldn't." Dr. Reeves's hands trembled as she touched the papers. "Whitmore's internal review process is compromised. Vandermeer has too much influence." She pulled out her phone. "But the American Musicological Society has an emergency ethics panel for cases like this. Independent verification, real accountability. Will they listen to this evidence, Doctor?" Reeves met his eyes. "They'll have to." The next 48 hours blurred into a gauntlet of evaluation. 3 musicologists from institutions across the country tested Kiran in a practice room that smelled of rosin and old wood. Sight-reading Brahms at first glance, improvising fugues on given themes. Analyzing Stravinsky's harmonic structures on a whiteboard. Composing an original piece while they observed, documenting every decision. "Explain your process," Dr. Martinez requested, recording his response. Kiran's fingers moved across manuscript paper. "I hear it first. Like architecture made of sound. Then I find the notes that match what's already complete in my head." They made him recreate his exam composition from memory. Then improvise variations. By hour 40, his hands ached, and his voice was hoarse from explaining his choices. But their expressions told him what he needed to know. They believed him. Across campus, Professor Damien Cho sat at his kitchen table, staring at his daughter's homework. She looked up from her calculus, pushing dark hair behind her ear. "Dad, that student everyone's talking about, the cheating case. Did he actually cheat?" Cho's chest tightened. His daughter's eyes held the same uncompromising clarity his had once held, before years of looking away had dimmed it. "No," he said quietly, "he didn't. Then why is the dean going after him?" The question hung between them. Cho thought of 4 other students over the years. Brilliant work that Vandermeer had claimed as collaborative development without proper credit. Cho had witnessed it, documented it in his own notes, and done nothing. He couldn't lie to his daughter's face. That night, he emailed Dr. Reeves. His testimony arrived in careful detail: names, dates, compositions, a pattern of theft spanning decades. "I should have spoken up before," he wrote. "I'm speaking now." The panel's findings arrived on a Wednesday morning. Dr. Reeves read them aloud in her office, while Kiran gripped his mother's pendant. Naledi Osei's manuscripts, authenticated through paper dating and ink analysis. Stylistic evolution, documented in her notebooks, proved original development. Kiran's abilities confirmed as genuinely exceptional, his genius documented and verified. Recommendation: full investigation of Vandermeer's published catalog. "They're calling for a formal faculty hearing," Dr. Reeves said, and something like hope flickered in her expression. The conservatory's board room smelled of furniture polish and old money. Mahogany panels absorbed sound, making every word feel weighted. Vandermeer arrived with 2 lawyers in suits that cost more than Kiran's entire year of tuition. The trustees sat in high-backed chairs, faces carefully neutral. Kiran placed his mother's trunk beside the witness table. Dr. Reeves presented evidence with the precision of someone who'd been preparing for this moment for 22 years. Dated manuscripts, comparative analysis, timeline of premieres. Professor Cho testified, voice steady despite his trembling hands, naming 4 other students whose work Vandermeer had appropriated. Then former students appeared via video conference. Hesitant at first, then gathering momentum. He said collaboration meant he could publish under his name alone. "He told me I should be grateful for his mentorship when I objected. He threatened my recommendation letters, a pattern emerging." Decades of systematic theft, Vandermeer's lawyer stood. "Circumstantial evidence and coordinated accusations don't prove. May I demonstrate?" Kiran's voice cut through the room. Quieter than the lawyers, but somehow carrying more weight. At the board room's grand piano, Kiran placed his mother's original manuscript on the music stand. His hands found the keys. The opening measures filled the space, her blending of African rhythmic patterns with Western classical harmonies. The revolutionary fusion she'd created before anyone knew her name. The trustees leaned forward. Even Vandermeer's lawyers stopped shuffling papers. Then Kiran placed Vandermeer's published score beside his mother's. He played the dean's original 2000 composition. The melodic theft was undeniable. Same harmonic progressions, same rhythmic innovations. Same soul stolen and repackaged. "It's the same piece," a board member whispered. Vandermeer stood abruptly, shared musical language. Collaborative development of common themes, dated 6 months after hers. Dr. Reeves's voice was steel, published without credit. "Premiered while she was being accused of plagiarizing you." The room watched Vandermeer realize he'd lost. His carefully constructed identity crumbling in real time. His face went gray, then red, then blank. The lawyers whispered urgently, but he wasn't listening anymore. The resolution cascaded faster than Kiran expected. Vandermeer's resignation effective immediately, music journals retracting publications. Awards revoked, criminal investigation into academic fraud opened. 3 students' works formally recredited with public apologies. 6 months later, the Naledi Osei Memorial Scholarship was announced at a campus ceremony. They performed her restored compositions, the ones she'd written before they broke her. Kiran stood in the audience, his mother's pendant catching stage lights, and heard her genius finally recognized. The advanced composition classroom looked different from the front. Kiran adjusted his teaching assistant nameplate, scanning the rows of students. Most sat in clusters, chatting before class started. But one student sat alone in the back corner, hoodie up, shoulders hunched, making himself invisible. Kiran recognized that posture. He'd perfected it himself. After class, he approached with his mother's original manuscript. The student startled, eyes widening. "I think you might want to see this," Kiran said gently. "Your work reminds me of someone brilliant who almost got erased." "Don't let them make you invisible." The student's hands trembled, taking the pages. "Thank you," he whispered. At his mother's grave, Kiran placed his teaching certificate against her headstone. Fresh flowers already decorated the site. Dr. Reeves had been here. Professor Cho, too, based on the handwritten note of apology. "They can hear you now, Mom," Kiran said to the marble, to the memory, to the brilliant composer she'd been. "They'll always hear you." He stood, brushing grass from his knees. Behind him, the conservatory's main building rose against the sky. On its donor wall, newly installed in bronze, Naledi Osei, 1976-2016, composer, visionary, voice restored. The afternoon sun caught the letters, making them shine.